welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Local Energy Efficiency Solutions to Foster Climate Resiliency. My name is Vi Nguyen, and I'm a project coordinator for the National Environmental Health Association. And I'll be facilitating the webinar today, where we will explore local energy efficiency solutions that lower emissions and support climate resiliency, including actionable steps for local residents. So first things first, I'll go over a quick review of today's agenda, and then we'll begin with welcoming and introducing today's speakers. Then I will provide a brief summary of our climate and health program at NEHA, followed by presentations from our two awesome speakers. And then we'll finish things off with some Q&A and closing remarks. But before we get started, I'm just going to go over some housekeeping items. So please note that the webinar is being recorded and the recording will be uploaded onto our website afterwards. So you can also review that if you have to hop off early or anything like that. And then please feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A box function throughout the presentations, and then we'll go through and answer them during the Q&A segment towards the end of the webinar. And then at the conclusion, please remember to fill out a short evaluation survey, as we'd greatly appreciate your feedback. And then other than that, thank you again for attending today's webinar. And with that, I will jump into introductions. So today we will have two speakers and then myself as well real quick. But for the first speaker, we have Erin Kilduff, who is a senior environmental specialist with Clark County Department of Environment and Sustainability. She focuses on energy and water conservation. She's previously worked as an energy manager at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, an energy associate at Caltech, and a senior sustainability consultant at Deloitte Tax. She is passionate about desert conservation and energy democracy in the southwestern U.S. For our second speaker, we have Kevin Emerson, who is the Director of Building Efficiency and Decarbonization and leads those programs, policy, and regulatory activities for Utah Clean Energy. For nearly 18 years, he has helped shape utility energy efficiency programs, local and state policies, and other initiatives to cut energy use and emissions from Utah's built environment. Kevin currently serves as a board member of Utah AEE and an associate member of ULI Utah. Kevin graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Studies from the University of Utah and a Master's of Science in Environmental Sustainability from the University of Edinburgh. He is an active blood donor, native plant enthusiast, and lives with his partner and their blended family in Taylorsville. And last but not least, you have me, Vi Nguyen. As I previously mentioned, I'm a project coordinator at NEHA, and the projects I work on involve workforce development, emergency preparedness, data management, informatics, as well as climate and health. So we'll start off with sharing a little snippet of NEHA's climate and health program. So our role here is to build, sustain, and empower an effective environmental public health workforce by prioritizing support for local jurisdictions and environmental public health professionals to protect their community from climate change-related environmental hazards. Through projects funded by CDC, we were able to host and develop various resources and tools, such as an interactive story map that allows you to explore regional health effects of climate change from Alaska to Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands region. We also develop guides to help integrate climate and health into environmental health programming and health sector partnerships. And we also have our Climate and Health Adaptation and Mitigation Partnership Program, or CHAMP. That program encourages local jurisdictions to progress toward meeting Healthy People 2030 objectives, promotes health equity, and helps advance CDC's Building Resilience Against Climate Effects framework. We've also partnered with Eco America to incorporate their Climate for Health Ambassador training as a regular program at our annual education conference, which we just had a couple of weeks ago this month. And we also coordinate activities with our climate and health committee members, such as a pre-conference climate change workshop, also at our annual education conference and webinars like the one you're participating in now. We'll share links in the chat box so you can learn more about our climate and health committee and explore the different resources and activities I mentioned, along with many, many other resources and tools that I didn't go over. But just so we can get started with the presentations with our speakers, I will now turn things over to Erin so she can just get started on that.
Thanks, Bea. Nice to meet everyone. I'm Erin Kilduff. I'm a senior environmental specialist with the Clark County Department of Environment and Sustainability. So before I start, I'm going to provide a brief overview of the Clark County Department of Environment and Sustainability and what we do here in Southern Nevada. So the Clark County Department of Environment and Sustainability consists of 3 divisions: the Division of Air Quality, the Desert Conservation Program, and the Division of Sustainability. The Division of Air Quality serves as a monitoring and permitting agency for Southern Nevada. So we have 18 active monitoring stations in the region. We monitor for the criteria pollutants. This past weekend, we had some fire events, so we saw an increase in particulate matter 2.5 and particulate matter 10. We also saw some increases in ozone and nitrogen dioxide. Can everyone see my slides okay?
Yes, everything's good.
Great. And then I'll provide a brief overview about the Desert Conservation Program. So DCP helps protect threatened and endangered species in Southern Nevada. So they help assist with development permits and ensure that threatened and endangered species like the desert tortoise have safe habitat and can be safely returned to their habitat if they're found on a construction site. We also have a mascot for the Desert Conservation Program. That's Mojave Max. You can see him in that photo right there. Each year there's a contest for when Mojave Max will emerge from his burrow. It's kind of similar to our Groundhog Day. So elementary school kids throughout Clark County can guess what date he will come out. Usually it's between February and April. In the past couple years, he's come out in April. Lastly, we have the sustainability team. And we're a small group, but we're really focused on climate action, climate resiliency, energy efficiency, and water efficiency in the region. So we'll talk a bit about climate and energy in Clark County. There are 4 major climate impacts in Clark County: extreme heat, drought, flooding, and wildfires. So this July, on July 7th, the Las Vegas metropolitan area reached the highest temperature in its recorded history. That was 120 degrees Fahrenheit. We also had 7 days where we had temperatures of 115 degrees or more. We also see drought in this region in 2022, or in July of 2022, Lake Mead reached its lowest capacity. It was at 27%. We do see flooding. We've had 12 major flooding events with damages of 1 million or more since, I believe, 1986. And then there's been 34 large wildfire events recorded in Clark County since 1984, or in or near Clark County since 1984. And when there's a wildfire or large fire event, that can have an impact, even if the fire itself is in an adjacent county along the state line with California or along the state line with Arizona. We'll talk a bit about the Climate Action Program. So a few years ago, we started the All In program. It's focused on climate education and climate literacy in Clark County. We want to make sure that all residents of Clark County have access to the federal programs that have come out recently, have available information about climate change and climate impacts in this region. So for the All In Climate Action Program, we started with foundational documents. We had the Regional Greenhouse Gas Inventory, the Climate Vulnerability Assessment, and the Community Sustainability and Climate Action Plan. Within Clark County, we saw with the Regional Greenhouse Gas Emissions Inventory, the largest source of emissions was buildings, followed by transportation, and then I believe it was waste and industrial facilities. So one tool that's been really useful to analyze climate and energy in Clark County is household energy burden. So energy burden is the percentage of annual household income spent on utility bills. In a 2020 study from the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, we saw that energy burden was highest for low-income residents. It was up to 3 times higher for low-income residents in Clark County. We also saw that 18% of residents had a high energy burden, and a high energy burden is defined as 6% or more. We also saw a number of residents who had a severe energy burden, which is defined as 10% or more. And between 2020 and 2024, we have seen an increase in utility bills, so it is likely that energy burden has increased as well. And within Clark County, we do expect a lot more residents. We've seen an increase in population. So according to some metrics, we may see 1 million more residents in the region by 2060. So what is All In? So All In is a climate action planning and outreach program. It aims to address climate change and create a more sustainable future for Clark County. It's a smart, bold, inclusive approach to ensuring the well-being and prosperity of all residents today and for future generations. Like I said, there are 3 major foundational documents within the All in Clark County program. There's the Regional Greenhouse Gas Emissions Inventory, the Climate Vulnerability Assessment, and the Community Sustainability and Climate Action Plan. I'll talk a bit about our strategies within the Community Sustainability and Climate Action Plan today. And then we just talked about the 4 major climate impacts that we found during the Climate Vulnerability Assessment analyses. The focus area of the All In program, there's 6 major focus areas: clean and reliable energy, connected and equitable mobility, diverse and circular economy, resilient and healthy community, smart buildings and development, and sustainable water systems. So how are we taking high impact action? So first, we started with our countywide education campaign. We have a program called Climate Ambassadors. I think we have even more climate ambassadors now. We do event tabling, we do back to school events, we do webinars, we do focus groups, we have a newsletter, and we really try and stay active on social media for our all-in events and all-in campaigns. We've posted a lot on Instagram, and we found that we've gotten a lot of engagement about posts on that platform. We also established the Regional Climate Collaborative to encourage collaboration between Clark County, the member cities within Clark County, the Regional Transportation Commission, and the Southern Nevada Water Authority. We have a fully executed interlocal agreement between the 5 member cities, the county, RTC, and SNWA. So within our climate outreach and climate education program, we've been focusing on the whole home approach and incentive stacking. What is a whole home approach? It's evaluating home improvements for energy and water efficiency, indoor air quality, and occupant comfort. A healthy home can have positive physiological effects, it can improve well-being, and it increases personal productivity. And this all goes back to that idea of the triple bottom line of sustainability, that sustainable design can result in positive impacts for people, the planet, and economics or economic prosperity. So within our whole home approach, we really want to focus on energy and water efficiency, making sure residents have access to the tax credits and rebates that have come out through the Inflation Reduction Act. So that means installing energy and water efficient equipment, conserving resources within the home, electrification, reducing the amount of internal equipment that results in emissions. So transitioning buildings to run on electricity, run on renewable sources, and supporting electrical panel upgrades and EV charging infrastructure. And then lastly, making sure when we're doing the energy and water efficiency upgrades, we're doing the electrification projects, we're also focused on indoor air quality. We're addressing any observed health concerns such as asthma or mold exposures to foster that safe and comfortable living environment. Within the whole home approach, we're focused on the pathway of conservation first, followed by weatherization, then renewable generation. So the first step is to identify actions and strategies that can reduce consumption at an individual household level, to work with households to ensure that their homes have the ceiling and insulation needed, and then to connect residents with the financial and technical resources to purchase efficient appliances and to purchase renewable power supply. So how do we do that? And I do want to provide a brief disclaimer. This presentation does not provide tax advice, and this presentation does not provide legal advice, but I am going to run through some of the tax credits and rebates for home upgrades. And what we want to do is kind of approach this through an incentive stacking model. So incentive stacking refers to the concurrent use of national and local incentive programs to reduce energy consumption at the household or individual business level. So how do we do that? We do it through grants, tax credits, utility programs, healthcare programs, and financing. And below there's a renewable or residential energy credit form with the IRS, and then that's a weatherization assistance form. So what are the available retrofit measures within the Inflation Reduction Act? So we have the tax credits, which are available currently. Those can be for renewable energy installations with that 30% tax credit, electrical panel upgrades, EV infrastructure or EV vehicle upgrades, and then EV charger upgrades in qualifying communities, rural or low-income communities. We have the heat pump tax credit as well as the 30% weatherization tax credit. With the rebates, those will likely come out in the states within the next, it's 2024, so in 2025, and those will flow down through the states. There's rebates for electrical panels. There are rebates for heat pump air conditioners, heat pump heaters, heat pump water heaters, clothes dryers, weatherization upgrades, electric stoves, induction stoves, electrical wiring, and then whole home upgrades for improving the energy efficiency of the home as a system. And then within Southern Nevada, we also look to our state and regional programs. We have the utility incentive programs through NV Energy, Southwest Gas, and Southern Nevada Water Authority. They have incentive programs for energy and water efficient equipment and energy and water conservation programs. NV Energy offers the Power Shift program for qualified appliance replacement, energy assessments, and smart thermostats. The state of Nevada has weatherization programs for homes in partnership with the Nevada Housing Division. The Nevada Clean Energy Fund has a financing program called REUP for energy efficiency upgrades within the home. And then for commercial properties, there's CPACE, the Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy Credit. Weatherization providers in Southern Nevada are through the Nevada Housing Division. In Southern Nevada, we have HELP and the Nevada Rural Housing Authority. What are examples of retrofit measures and weatherization measures? There's the addition of insulation, sealing air leaks, weather stripping, replacement of windows, doors, making sure there's not a lot of excess air coming in and or out of the home. You can also purchase energy efficient shading, blinds, window coverings, and that can also be trees and other vegetation. In addition, weatherization can include minor window, door, and air conditioning duct repairs. So one model that we've really looked to is the Energy Star Home Upgrade model. The Energy Star Home Upgrade model provides a set of direct, high-impact actions that can improve individual household efficiency, resulting in reduced utility bills, reduced energy consumption, and then reduced greenhouse gas emissions. So the 6 primary steps within the Energy Star Home Upgrade model are clean heating and cooling, super efficient water heating, smart thermostats, well-insulated and sealed attics, high-performing windows or storm windows, and electric-ready infrastructure within the home. Within Clark County, we have a number of other initiatives related to clean energy, clean transportation, and climate resiliency. So we have the Southern Nevada Clean Cities Coalition, which works in partnership with vehicle fleets, with fuel providers, with municipalities, and transportation organizations to identify strategies to reduce petroleum use. We also have the Stay Cool Clark County program, which helps residents identify cooling centers in the region during heat events. Thank you so much. And I believe that's the conclusion of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Erin, for sharing all of those awesome programs and initiatives. For our audience, just a reminder again, for any questions you may have for Erin, please remember to use the Q&A function to submit those, and then we'll address them during the Q&A segment of the webinar. But now we will move over to Kevin and see what he has for us. So Kevin, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, V. Thanks for the great presentation, Erin. It's really amazing to see what's happening in Clark County. And hats off to you and your team. So, yeah, thank you so much for the invitation to join today. And thank you to everyone who's taken the time to come to listen to, to what we have to talk about. Again, as we said in the introduction, my name is Kevin Emerson, and I lead building efficiency and building decarbonization activities for Utah Clean Energy. Go to the next slide. So Utah Clean Energy is a mission-driven, nonprofit, nonpartisan organization based in Salt Lake City, Utah. We've been around for 22 years or so. We were founded in 2001. And again, yeah, we're a mission-driven organization. So we work to create a future that ensures healthy, thriving communities for all, empowered and sustained by clean energy. Most of the work that we do and that we have done over our, the 2 decades we've been around focuses on shaping and changing our policy landscape to make energy efficiency, clean energy, climate smart decisions as far as our energy system goes, the status quo. So when it comes, building codes or net metering policies or a whole host of other things, we've been involved front and center in all of those activities here in the state of Utah. But also, an important part of our work over the years has been in community engagement. And that has become increasingly important to our organization as we've learned about important ways to work with especially underrepresented communities who typically aren't involved in policymaking or program design. And so our Empower SLC initiative that we've been running for probably close to 10 years, 8 years or so now, has been our concerted effort to engage with communities in a more deliberate way and really investing more time and effort in community engagement. So I'm here to tell you about some of a couple of our recent projects that have taken place over the last couple of years that have fallen within the Empower SLC initiative through Utah Clean Energy. So there's been a number of different initiatives. One of them was, and it was kind of a bigger singular focus and well fleshed out initiative in terms of community engagement. It was funded by an EPA Environmental Justice Small Grant. It was a 1-year project, and it really aligned with our Empower SLC and our community engagement work. And in the Salt Lake City Valley or the Salt Lake Valley, there is a community in Salt Lake City proper and in other communities on the west side of the valley that have historically been underrepresented. There is historic redlining. There is also a higher energy burden and more higher levels of problematic air pollution during both the winter. So I think my headphones just decided to turn off.
I can still hear you.
I'll continue without my headphones. Let's see, where was I? And so our focus through our Empower SLC project has been to really build relationships, deepen relationships, and come up with some innovative programming that we can use to benefit underrepresented West Side communities in particular, and also use as a learning opportunity to inform our work and our collaboration with community members to shape policy and to shape new programs, say offered by the utilities and so on and so forth. So our environmental justice small grant focused on hosting numerous community events at schools, at public parks, at farmers markets, places like that, just to talk to folks about energy. Where does energy come from? How do we use it? How can we all individuals make smart energy choices in our homes that can reduce energy costs and also improve indoor air quality and things like that? And so we did this by different partnerships that I'll tell you about in a little bit. But really, our focus was included bringing resources into our program in partnership with other organizations, such as LEDs, smart thermostats, leveraging existing resources that a lot of community members just really don't know about, for example, offered by local utility companies.
to provide, we worked with our electric utility to bring, to leverage their budget for community marketing, really. They donated thousands of LEDs for us to distribute. And we worked with our gas utility at the time to drive participation and to be kind of a funnel for a program that they offered, which was highly actually free, completely subsidized home air sealing and insulation improvements. And so we kind of put this package together of EPA small grant, resources from the utilities to bring some new programs into the community. The community partners we worked with range, if you go to the next slide, range from faith communities to public agencies, to organizations that serve underrepresented communities and underhoused communities. You can see, a lot of them listed here. And our organization, or our idea behind organizing this effort, was to partner with existing community organizations and take our staff into other community organizations and community organization events. So we're not asking community members to go out of their way to yet another event or workshop or tabling event and whatnot. And so we have really great partnerships through these organizations. And again, some are public agencies like the Community Action program that facilitates and implements heat and weatherization across the state of Utah, to a couple of faith communities, including Calvary Baptist Church, which I'll tell you about a little bit more. We had a really successful engagement with them. And we were able to reach thousands of community members with basic energy efficiency education, and also free LED replacement, air sealing, and attic insulation by leveraging these other resources that I mentioned previously. If you go to the next slide to tell you a little bit more about some of the engagement that we undertook. We put together some online, a lot of this actually took place through COVID, started pre-COVID, went through COVID, and it's continued. We wanted to make a lot of this information accessible during the COVID timeframe when we were all social distancing a lot. So we put together a 3-part lesson about utility bill literacy for folks who really haven't had the opportunity or haven't ever learned about how to read their utility bill and what it means, and how to take advantage of programs from the utilities to reduce their utility bill. We developed educational infographics that we translated into different languages, primarily English, Spanish, and then a couple of other languages that were prominent in the west side of Salt Lake City. We were able to reach a couple of thousand community members through a variety of different tabling events and community workshops. We distributed over 14,000 free LEDs. We did that in a few ways. Sometimes we would just distribute them for free at tabling events. We started out with asking folks to bring in up to 15 incandescents and do a direct exchange. So we had a really high level of confidence that those LEDs we're giving away were going to be installed right away, and start delivering value to community members right away. And we also brought in some additional leveraged grants to provide deeply discounted smart thermostats. At the time, smart thermostats were probably in the $250 range to purchase, not to mention the work to install it. So we brought in another small grant to discount smart thermostats to $50. Some of them we were able to give away as well, but distributed almost 200 smart thermostats. And then from a very completely separate project, we were able to bring in external resources to do some pilots with community members who aren't in a position to consider much in terms of energy improvements to their homes, much less rooftop solar. But working with the Community Action Agency and an external grant partner, we were able to bring in resources to do some roof repairs and upgrades and solar installs for homeowners. I alluded to this before. One of our anchor partners was Calvary Baptist Church, historically a very important, predominantly Black African American church in the Salt Lake Valley, and has been around for quite a number of decades. We were able to work through our EPA environmental justice small grant, and in leveraging another grant that one of our board members actually brought to our attention, and to cover our time. We use the EPA small grant to cover our time, and this other small grant through actually a group called the United Methodist Committee on Relief, through their Earth Keepers grant, thanks to our board member. And there was just a very small $6,000 grant from this UMCOR is what it's called, United Methodist Committee on Relief. And we leveraged that $6,000 grant into $60,000 of energy efficiency upgrades that were available already, to the church through the local utility company. But what we learned through this project and a lot of our community engagement is just because the utility has energy efficiency programs available and they're paid for by ratepayers, not all community members know that they exist, know the nuances of how they work, or know how to apply. So this Calvary Baptist Church, which is really in effect similar to a small business, and there are small business programs offered by utilities, but this organization is really busy, running its organization and fulfilling its mission. And we were able to bring this small grant in and give some of our time to help navigate the community, the church community, through a couple of energy efficiency programs that are available by the local utility. Those include replacing in 2 phases, 50% and then 100% of their lighting to LEDs, and then add some controls units called advanced rooftop unit controls to their heating and cooling system. You can see the picture there on the bottom right, and that's some of the folks assessing their rooftop heating and cooling systems that really had very simplistic, non-effective controls. And by bringing some resources that provide some seed funding for the church itself, to have a little bit of resources to invest in the efficiency programs, and then leveraging thousands of dollars worth of rebates from the utility, we were able to help them get these LED replacements done, as well as add these advanced controls to their rooftop units, which made their heating and cooling systems operate much more efficiently and reduce energy consumption. And after that first engagement, thanks to this EPA small grant, EJ small grant, after this lighting improvement and rooftop unit controls project, this church community became very interested in what else can we do. And being a mission-driven organization that's been around for 20 years, we always have our eye on different opportunities. And our local utility, our electric utility, also offers for nonprofits and public agencies a grant program to help folks install rooftop solar. I wish I had a picture of their system here, but they installed a huge rooftop solar system after doing these efficiency improvements. And we were able to help connect them with this solar grant program called Blue Sky, and solar contractors that they ended up getting some bids from, and installed a rooftop solar system on top of the efficiency improvements that then covers 90% of the church's power needs. And it's quite a large facility. And so this really what we were able to do is bring a number of different small grants together to build partnerships with organizations to help them make improvements to their homes, or in this case, to the church. And it's been really valuable for us to have these experiences, because then we build relationships with these organizations and then take these lessons into the work we're doing with, say, the utility companies for future incentive programs. And the way we see it, if we hadn't been involved in this organization and brought this small grant in, these efficiency improvements and even the solar and the financial benefits that come with that for the Calvary Baptist Church community likely wouldn't have happened. And so we want to take those lessons and help shape the utility incentive programs so that the role we played is something that's institutionalized into their program. So we're I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but we're taking these lessons learned to try to help shape these programs in a way that they're more impactful and more widely available to all community members. To zoom out, as a result of our EPA Environmental Justice Small Grant and some of the other small grants that we've kind of brought in to actually to do some of this unique community engagement through our Empower SLC program, we were able to dramatically reduce emissions associated with energy use, heating and cooling of community members' homes through smart thermostats, um, reduce electricity consumed from the grid through the rooftop solar arrays for the lower income community members, as well as the solar installation at the Calvary Baptist Church. So you can see here that there are numerous energy reduction benefits, energy cost reductions to community members who installed LEDs, smart thermostats, or who installed solar, and then institutional benefits also to the church through the energy efficiency improvements and solar installs as well. And taking this back again to our focus on underserved communities, these kinds of solutions aren't widely enough available through institutional programs like the utility incentive programs to the communities that need them the most. And so we're really proud of the work that we've done and the partnerships that we've built with those organizations that were listed previously. And again, we're hoping to take these lessons learned and bring these other community voices into conversations so that utility programs, local government programs, state programs can more from the very beginning think about how can they design their programs to allow community members to have a voice to help shape the programs so these kind of programs are more widely available to community members and small businesses and other organizations. So if we go to the next slide, so the EPA Environmental Justice Small Grant and our Empower SLC initiative and the successes we built through the LED exchange and the things that I mentioned also led to another larger effort that was a 2-year cooperative agreement with the EPA through their Environmental Justice Collaborative Problem Solving program. So again, building on our partnership with Calvary Baptist Church and then including several other community organizations, one called the IRC of Salt Lake, an organization that supports refugee resettlement in the Salt Lake area. Also a community organization that focuses and represents community members on the west side of Salt Lake City called the West Side Coalition. And then a local school that's a school that has historically focused on serving community members for whom English is not their first language and Spanish is the first language of the Salt Lake's Hispanic and Latinx community, Guadalupe School. Working with those 4 organizations in a proposal to EPA, just actually last summer officially wrapped up this collaborative problem solving project. The focus of this particular project was home electrification, which includes home efficiency and when the opportunity arises, replacing equipment with efficient electric equipment. And as a mission-driven organization that has that's working on addressing climate change, we see that electrification is an important part of the solution. But electrification, if it's not done right, can increase energy burdens or can have comfort problems if new technologies are installed by companies who aren't very well practiced and very familiar with with newer technologies. So this project sought to build relationships with community members and working in partnership with the community organizations that we worked with previously to hear from community members about what are the most pressing needs that community members have when it comes to the possibility of making improvements in their homes for energy efficiency and also electrification in the future. So we worked with the organizations that I mentioned to develop a community vision of electrification for a lot of these folks involved in this project. A lot of community members haven't heard of electrification. So we talked a lot about what is electrification, what is energy efficiency, what are the programs available, what are the technologies like, how are they different? We work to identify barriers that communities community members face today. And with input from community members through listening sessions, through community workshops and presentations, a couple of those things are pictured here. We co-develop strategies between communities and other key stakeholders, including representatives from utility companies and companies that implement programs for utilities. Local government staff as well were involved. And in the end, we put together a community strategy for equitable home electrification. And I don't know that that I added that or that I shared that previously. So I'm going to put a link in the chat to this in case it's of interest to folks. So we put together this community strategy for equitable home electrification, and the goal was to identify the barriers and then work with community members to identify the strategies and the activities that the community members felt like were the most impactful to overcome the barriers that they had communicated. And we are using this community strategy now in conversations with our main electric investor-owned utility, Rocky Mountain Power, that covers 85% of the state, to help influence how they think about marketing and structuring their incentive programs. And then we're also using it for a state effort to launch a brand new home efficiency and home electrification program through the Federal Inflation Reduction Act, called the Home Energy Rebates Program. So I imagine most folks, or many folks, have heard of that. If not, I'm happy to answer questions about it later. But our goal is to use the lessons learned and the information received from the community through this more recent 2-year collaborative problem-solving project to help inform that state the way that the state implements and launches and markets and designs its home energy rebates programs. So it's really as responsive as possible to the community members' needs. And that is really, that really covers most of kind of what I wanted to mention, just kind of hopefully give you some ideas about ways of working and partnerships to build and ways to use small grants to bring, to bring new programs together. I did want to also mention that we are really lucky. Just as last month, our organization moved into our first official office headquarters that could include our whole staff. Taryn just put a link in the chat about that. But our new office headquarters houses our whole staff of 15, and it's more than just an office headquarters. It is an organization that we built as a showcase to teach community members and teach the industry, teach architects about how to build zero emission buildings. We have a dedicated large conference room in this space to make available to community members to teach them all about all things climate, energy efficiency, air quality, and things like that. So the link there tells you all about how we designed the building very intentionally to be a model. And with that, I'll pause and I'll put another link in the chat in a minute, but thanks for the opportunity to present.
Thank you so much, Kevin. We will give it a moment and then we'll go into the Q&A part. But thank you both for your presentations. And then reminder again to attendees to drop any questions you have for Kevin or Aaron into the Q&A box, and then we can address those during then. But yeah, let me just go in real quick, see if there's any questions. Okay, we can go with first question. We'll kind of go with Aaron. How do you start a climate action plan, and how long did it take to draft the county or the Clark County plan?
Hi, yeah, I agree with Kevin. I think the first step is community engagement. It's really important to have both government stakeholders and community-based organizations involved in the process and be included as you develop the plan metrics and plan goals. And so I believe our plan, the planning process for the plan started around 2020, and then the final version of the community plan was released in 2023. And we had an initial county plan that was released in 2020 or 2021.
Then One more question. When are the federal tax credits and rebates available, and how do you apply?
Yeah, the federal tax credits are available today, and then the rebates will flow down through the individual states. I believe New York State's program may be available, but you can look on the home energy rebates on the DOE website for when the rebates will be available in your individual states.
Okay, and then for Kevin, what have the most challenging and most rewarding aspects of this type of community engagement work been for Utah Clean Energy?
Um, can you hear me okay?
Okay, a little quiet.
Okay. I apologize about my audio. Um, so, I think probably one challenging aspect of all of these programs overall is, I mean, it's a little bit of a departure from a lot of the work that we've done in the past, which has really been focused on using our experts, just really focusing on changing, advocating for changes to policy, utility regulation, and things like that with our team of experts. One challenging kind of aspect of this work is that um, it's not a negative thing, but it's just something I think we've learned over the years that building real community partnerships and effective community engagement takes a lot more time than just a team of 4 folks doing research and writing compelling testimony to submit to a regulator, just living in our silo. So it's really important, but challenging to shift gears and plan the time and take the time to build relationships and really get to know communities, different communities and their different needs, and then start incorporating what we learn in here in partnerships from the community into our work. So I think that is challenging, but on the flip side, that's also what's most rewarding, because I think we are able to have the work we're doing is benefits because our as a mission driven organization, the public interest is why we exist. So it's really been valuable to have to put in the work to learn more about what community members' needs are and then incorporate it into our work, so we can have a better impact on community members, short term and over the long term.
And then for Kevin again, did you offer light bulbs of different wattages, sizes, and colors? How did you decide which types to offer community members?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we did get that question a few times during the project, but we didn't. We just selected one standard. I think it's called an E19, just kind of the standard residential light bulb. So it was one type, one wattage, one color, and we worked with the local utility to build off of the work that they have done running programs like this that are ratepayer funded utility programs, and said let's not reinvent the wheel and let's keep it pretty simple and just build on the decisions that utility has made in the past, and just select one that's one type of light bulb that really meets most people's needs, to try to find the right balance between simplicity and impact. So, and for what it's worth, I think it was a 60-watt equivalent that was I think a 4-watt LED, and it was a 2700 Kelvin. So it's like slightly warm, wasn't a blue light, but it wasn't too overly warm.
And for Kevin, how is Utah Clean Energy building upon these past community engagement projects?
I kind of already alluded to them, but we are at this point, we're working with our state Office of Energy Development. That's our state agency that is responsible for putting in the application for the home energy rebates programs. And we're doing a lot of work to try to give all the community feedback that we received, especially during this 2-year collaborative problem solving project, and give all that community feedback life, if you will, in helping to shape the way that the state and implementers that the state will probably be hiring to implement the home energy rebates program, to help make sure that the program is designed and structured in a way that addresses the many community member needs that we already have heard through this community collaborative problem solving project. So we're very focused on that actually right now at this point in time. The state has issued an RFP to hire 2 different implementers here in the state of Utah for the home energy rebates program, one with a single family focus and then one with a multifamily focus. And we want to make sure that those companies that are applying to implement these rebate programs on behalf of the state of Utah using these federal funds, which is really a once in a lifetime opportunity, that they design these programs to meet community members' needs and don't just do things, kind of develop a plan and develop a program to launch in a way that they've always done it. We want them to develop a program that is responsive to community members' needs. And there's so many good ideas out there when you talk to the community, but a lot of times folks in the positions where they're taking federal funds or state funds and developing new programs, they don't think about taking the time to talk to community members. And so we hope that this community strategy for equitable home electrification is something that will really shape that state program. So that's something that we're working on now, building off of our past community engagement activities.
Anything to add about, given that you also work in advocacy and education for clean energy policy, how does community engagement work support your policy work?
Yeah, I guess I would just add, so kind of in the same vein, whether or not it's states taking federal funds to develop a new rebate program, or local or state policymakers making decisions about our energy future and new programs or new policies that can help or hurt air quality and climate resilience and things. We think it's really critical for lawmakers, policymakers to hear directly from community members. And so whether or not it's working with state utility regulators or state legislators, making sure that they take time to hear from community members, and especially community members who historically haven't been given a voice in how public policy is shaped that impacts their lives and impacts our future, is a priority for us as well. And so we're building off of these community engagement activities that have really been focused on working with community members and helping community members learn about things that they can do in their real lives or their day-to-day lives, and leveraging those relationships to make sure those voices are also brought up to policy making.
You and for Erin, did you have anything additional that you wanted to add on or talk about any other programs that maybe you weren't able to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. It's been great to hear about the programs in Utah. I just wanted to say that we do have the Stay Cool Clark County program that I briefly touched on. If you are in the Southern Nevada region during these high heat events, it's definitely a great resource for additional information about the cooling centers and how to address high heat events.
Okay, thank you. And I don't think I see any other additional questions, so we can kind of start closing things out. I will go over some quick about earlier when I mentioned for more climate related resources, you can visit our website. Be sure to click the link related to resources and tools under the Learn More section. It's kind of towards the bottom of the webpage, but you'll be able to find resources on like the story maps that I mentioned, fact sheets on a lot of climate related topics such as like extreme heat and drought, and any guides on integrating environmental justice and climate and health into like programs and activities, and a lot of other like publications, webinars, and policies that we have or have been involved in. And then we just want to thanks Erin and Kevin again. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights to a more energy efficient and climate resilient tomorrow. Please feel free to contact us with any further questions or comments regarding today's webinar and any inquiries regarding NEHA. And yeah, thanks again to everyone for attending today's webinar on local energy efficiency solutions to foster climate resiliency. All attendees will receive an email with a link to a SurveyMonkey just to complete an evaluation for today's webinar. So don't forget to share with us how your experience was today. We really value and appreciate your feedback, comments, and suggestions. And thank you again to everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time. So you'll have about 5 minutes back into your day, but take care and enjoy the rest of your week. Stay cool, stay hydrated. It's getting hot everywhere. So take care, and thanks again, Kevin and Aaron. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.